demonize and attack other people that he's friends with, on a whim. He's willing to say things off the top of his head at a moment's notice without any kind of censorship, internal censorship. So, I mean, all of those traits, his lack of morality in general kind of actually helps him get away with so much more. I mean, there's a lot of things I'm sure that like other presidents have thought in the Oval Office about, like, man, I'd like that person's ass out of the room. And it goes through their head, but they censor it. They keep themselves under wrap. And Trump doesn't do that. He just says what's on the top of his mind openly, and without guidelines, without his own moral guidelines, dude, sky's the limit for what he can do to get what he wants,
And the people just stupid for letting him get away with it. And everything you describe is a horrible person. But somehow he's the president and is loved by a good portion of America. It's fucked up.
It's true, Kima, but you know what? I started noticing years ago that I was the only one that gave a fuck about character in a president. Like, I started hearing, it doesn't matter, they're all a bunch of assholes. If you think that, then you're never going to look for somebody that is a decent human being. There are still decent human beings, and there are actually a few decent human beings in politics. Most of them haven't been in for 30 years. But the idea that we're just throwing that in the air and saying it doesn't fucking matter anymore, character's out the window, we don't give a fuck, we'll put a scumbag in there as long as he gives us what we want. That's our own problem. That's why we're making, we only have ourselves to blame. We get what we deserve. And right now we deserve somebody who's literally a stereotypical, disgusting American who eats McDonald's every single day and badmouths everybody, around him. We deserve because
I don't deserve that motherfucker, Mike. I do not deserve Donald Trump.
Here's the thing.
I get what you said.
Here's the thing, Mike. I'm one of those people that thinks character should matter. I'm one of those people that it took a long time for me to get on the Trump platform because of the fact that I'd already made personal decisions about his character and who he was as a person. And I don't particularly care for his character, but by the same token, when I don't particularly, during the primaries before Trump got the ticket, I earnestly looked. I wanted to find somebody. I wanted to jump on the DeSantis bandwagon. I earnestly looked for a politician that I thought would accomplish what I wanted and that I felt like at least to some degree was a man of character. They just weren't there to be had. They just were not. I just could not get on board with anybody else. And so when he won the primary, I still have to make a choice. And my choice is between two people with no character. I still have to make a choice. If I want to vote and if I want to feel like the things that are important to me are going to be represented. So
yeah,
in that case, I have to throw my support behind somebody,
I mean, arguably, a lot of the Republicans who became never Trumpers in the beginning were the people who had some more of the character. They were deeply bothered by that in him. I mean, I think of most recent memory, John McCain is probably somebody that had a lot of character, and he lost the presidency. So I think that the primaries kind of eliminates the need for character because it promotes people that are on the extreme ends of things, and people who are on the extreme ends of things are not the ones necessarily with the most character. So we end up with 70% of America wanting someone who's moderate, but the extremist wins every time on either side because of the primaries, and because too many of us that that do care about character are so frustrated by the whole process, we just step out of the entire process itself and we don't even vote.
That's a great point, Mike, that the primary eliminates the need for character. Because, basically, whoever goes the lowest is likely to win. So, who gives a fuck about character? And the primary definitely sets that field up like that. That's a good observation. That's crazy, though.
Yeah, and the primary also eliminates the opportunity for a third party to ever get any traction. So, if you look between the primary and the college, what do you call it? With the states, the way that they vote. The electoral college. If you look between the primaries and the electoral college, those are just methods of rigging the system to take away a lot of the control that we would have as citizens naturally. The control that we're told we have, right? Like it's up to you. Just vote. You can make changes. Well, those two things put huge dampers on that power that we're given. And the Electoral College was put that on there in place for that very reason, to take away some of that power. But I don't think the primaries were necessarily put in for that reason, but I feel like that's what they've resulted in. Necessarily put in. Talking, or if I think it's just my mic's just dead.
No, you're good. I think it just got quiet.
Yeah, hey, Senator B, I was a never Trumper for, I've never voted for him, but I wouldn't necessarily call myself a never Trumper now. It took me 8 years to come around, and really what I had to witness was the demise of the previous Republican Party. I mean, I agree that neo-con conservatism, the idea of spreading democracy around the world via, all means necessary, it didn't work. It wasn't, in retrospect, that wasn't a good idea, and it's something I did believe in the 90s. But I would like a Republican Party with the rest of its values, minus that, a lesson learned. And that doesn't exist. We had to go all out and just throw all of our values out the window, from fiscal responsibility to, everything else, and just disrupt the entire system in order to show that, how bad the Democrats are. And in doing that, we got a guy that is a disruptor who made the entire process about himself. And thankfully he'll be heading out. I think he was in some ways necessary for our country to put into question a lot of the status quo that we were getting too comfortable with. I love his focus on fighting, men and women's sports, things like that. That's the kind of shit that was getting way too out of control. And I'm glad that there's somebody there for that. Immigration, I'm glad there's somebody that talks a lot more about it and at least says he wants to do something about it, points a finger at it. I mean, there's a lot of things he's done that, that I think were needed. I would have liked them done by a different human being, but, it is what we got, and he's doing something that I don't necessarily completely disagree with all aspects of.
Right.
I feel like, disruptor in chief is what he is. He's disrupting the status quo for executive actions. He's disrupting the system of presidential or executive power versus judicial power. He's disrupting the balance of the Superior Court. I mean, he's disrupting a shit ton of stuff, and it's causing us to decide who we do want to be going forward. And I think it was about fucking time, because it was going downhill.
I agree, and that's primarily why I still throw my support behind him. I don't think that everything he does is right. He is not I don't idolize him, but I feel like I was given a choice, and I made the best choice between the two candidates that I had. And so at this point, he is our president, and I also feel like it, lump it, or rump it, or dump it. If he's the president, we have to kind of, we just have to support our leadership. I mean, he's in that role right now, so we have to get behind it and support it.
I mean, realistically, I'm not a liberal, and that I don't want to blow up the entire country and start from scratch like a lot of them wish they could. So because I don't want that, I have to ultimately wish for the best of the country, and I have to support whoever's in charge and hope that they're going to be successful, not make us weaker than we already are, and I don't know if he's that guy or not, but when he's in the position, I have to shut my mouth. It's kind of like when I was in the Marine Corps, people used to say, during the Iraqi war, they would say, I support the troops, but I don't support the war. And I would say, well, the troops are under fire right now in war. And you saying you don't support the war, and even worse yet, speaking out against the war, obnoxiously so in public, is only weakening their ability to hopefully win the war. And whether or not you believe in the war, I don't think you want them to lose the war. And if you do, then that's unpatriotic. And so I would tell people, like, they say, I support the troops, I support the war. And say, well, how do you do that? You're using your mouth to talk shit about their jobs, the job they're doing right now. You're not sending them care packages. You're not sending them money. Like, what the fuck do you mean you support the troops? Is that just like you just think you do because you say it, and saying it makes it real when you have absolutely no action behind it? The least you can do is shut your fucking mouth when they're under fire and say, well, you know what? Whether or not I agree with the war itself, I hope that they win. You know,
Right.
And that's what they needed. That's what they wanted. And they don't fucking need people talking shit about their jobs. I mean, firefighters. I support firefighters, but I don't support fighting fires. What the fuck? I mean, when they're in the building fighting the fire, shut your fucking mouth till they get back out of the danger zone. You know.
Right.
Well said.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think as an American, you got an obligation to speak up against a war you don't agree with, and you can support the soldiers in the sense where you don't want them to die. You hope the war ends soon, and you hope they get home safely. That's the way you support them, but you don't have to support a war. I mean, that's crazy. I don't gotta support an unjust war.
So what method do you use? To support them without supporting the war? So I agree that they shouldn't necessarily be the same thing, but you're not supporting the troops if you're out talking shit about what they're doing when they're being killed. That's not supportive of the troops. Saying I want the troops to come home safely is just like flapping your gums. It doesn't have any relevance.
No, that could be supporting the troops is getting out, voicing your concern to the government, and hopefully they will listen and end the fucking war. That bring the troops home in the war that you have no business doing. That is supporting the troops, trying to get the war ended.
As one of the troops, I can tell you that didn't feel like any kind of support. But I mean, they're over there doing it. They're breaking down doors. If you want to influence their.
Some of the troops appreciated people at home asking for the war to end.
If you want to act to influence their commander in chief, who's giving the directive for them to be under fire in ways that actually are tangible, i.e., running for a position of power in your local government, whatever it takes to influence the decision makers, you could argue that's supportive in an indirect manner. But just saying, bring them home and keep them, and I hope they come home safe and end this shit now is not supportive of them when they're over there at the time. It's just not. I mean, they don't feel like it. So if they don't feel like it, who are you to say that it is?
I think they gripe to be with the government that sent them over there on a bullshit war. I think that's who they number one issue should be with. They're doing their job nonetheless. They shouldn't have an issue with that. And the people that's at home voicing their concern on unjust wars, I don't see how they would have a problem with that.
I understand that, but when you swore to follow, to defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic, and to follow the orders of your commander in chief, and I mean, for instance, when I was a Marine, I didn't say shit about my commander in chief that made him weaker in any way, shape, or form, even if I disagree with the decision he was making, because it wasn't my job. My job was to support him and do what he tells me to do, take direct orders. If you're not the kind of person that's capable of putting yourself in that position to be the guy with that role, then I totally get you could think. I mean, I don't see how somebody could think that they can speak for the people that have actually put their bodies in harm's way in an effort to win something that wasn't their choice to go into in the first place. I don't see how those same people that aren't willing to do that could claim that they speak for the people that are doing it. I didn't hear when service members come back from war, sometimes they'll speak their voices about what they think about it. But when they're over there, they don't do that. They don't all just sit around and talk about how bullshit the war is when they're busy watching their brothers die. They fucking do what they can to kick ass. And they take their job seriously. And I just think it's a different mentality. The people that put their lives on the line for something greater than themselves, and the people that have never physically done that, but use their mouth parts to act like it's the same thing. There's a difference between those two things.
Mike, I agree with you 100%. Thank you for your service to our country. I didn't realize you were a veteran.
Oh, I appreciate it, King. Thank you.
Yeah, I it's a little story about me, but my goal was when I was a kid to serve. And my dad, of course, being an immigrant was like, oh, don't serve, don't do it, you'll die and all that stuff. But I had a lot of friends that, were in the military, and they were just telling me, and I felt so patriotic. I tried to serve. And friends of mine showed me, you're going to laugh at this. They showed, because I didn't know what boot camp was going to be like. So I was asking them, what is it like? How does it work? And so I had friends of mine who were in the Navy SEALs who were showing me, like, this is how it is. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm going to get my ass kicked. All right. Let me look into this. So a friend of mine was in Army Rangers. He showed me that. I was like, oh, fuck. Pardon my language. Oh, shit. So I ended up going to... a friend of mine was like, you're kind of nerdy, why don't you go for Air Force? So I went, signed up, did everything, and then I had asthma, severe asthma at that time, so I came outside, took a puff of my asthma inhaler, and the guy saw from the window, came running out. He goes, what's that? I said, it's my inhaler, and he ripped up the paperwork. He goes, it can't go. All my friends were like, you should have if you had just held out, you could have gotten down there, they would have taken care of you for life. I said, nah, I don't want to do that, man. Like, I wanted to actually serve and do something. So now I do government contracting, so I help a lot of veterans. I only hire veterans. I've gotten accused of discrimination, but I only hire veterans to work for.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's amazing. That's amazing. Remember too that when I joined in '91 as a junior in high school, there was no internet or YouTube. So how do you even know what boot camp's like, right? To your point, you can ask other people's experiences and they can tell you stories, but there was no fucking video to watch to fully understand what you're getting yourself into. And when in the Marine Corps, you arrive at MCRD San Diego, in my case, on a bus in the middle of the fucking night on purpose, pitch black. And that fucking drill instructor comes up, and if you can imagine sitting in a bus in the dark, and there's always like a light up front on the bus. It's inside to the interior light, but the whole bus isn't lit. It's only up the front by the driver. And that fucking drill instructor walks up those stairs of that bus when you arrive at MCRD, and all you see is his shadow and his fucking hat. And he just starts screaming to get your fucking ass off that bus now as fast as possible. And you're all scrambling over each other, and then there's these footprints that you stand on for your first taste of like what it means to stand at attention. And from then on, man, they keep you awake for 2.5 days with no sleep, and they fucking shave it roughly so. And what I mean by that is they shave it quick and hard, and then they leave pieces of fucking hair sticking up sometimes, so you look like an idiot because they don't give a shit. So it's just this smack of awareness, and then you just, by the end of 2 days, you're completely exhausted, and it feels like a blur. Like everything, like you literally, you just feel like you're in a tornado. And then they finally let you sleep for a few hours. I've got to think, you fall asleep forgetting where you're at, and you wake up like, oh fuck, what I got myself into. It's a scary fucking time, I'll tell you that.
Some of the commanders I've spoken to said some of that stuff is not allowed in the last, I think 5 or 8 years or so. The military said you can't do these kinds of things, but there's been a lot of debate back and forth that those are the things that toughen up some of the soldiers. So it's fascinating.
Yeah, the Marine Corps is the only service that refuses to train men and women together, and to this day they fight it. They have to fight it constantly, but they've been able to hold it. And it's a huge deal in the Marine Corps because women and men are not fully physically capable of the same things, and they need the strength of both in different ways. The Marine Corps would not be the Marine Corps if they had to train side by side. I can tell you I've never been on a 20-mile hike with an 80-pound pack where any single female Marine made it to the end. But I didn't expect them to, because there's other stuff that they could do, like bent arm hangs and stuff that we couldn't do. So it just doesn't make any sense training them together. You're never going to get the most out of the guys. And the Marine Corps needs, they're the extreme end of it. They need people who are very, very, very physically capable, as opposed to the other services you can get by not necessarily pressing people to their ultimate limits,
So Mike, I was at Buford. You probably know it.